details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice is lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. We had a lot of reaction to could this guy's group of friends. No, he and his brothers beat up Conor McGregor, an epic level of interaction. We also had a kid who played on Derrick Henry's high school team checked in and said, I was in those drills with Derrick Henry, and trust me, your buddy wouldn't just get him at the ankles and get lucky one time out of 10. And look, sometimes we say a lot of dumb stuff. I think my dumbest one I ever had is when I told Tim Kirkshin, I said, you don't think I could get it out of the infield once out of 100 pitches against Clayton Kershaw? And he was like, no. I go, yeah, but he was like, he throws perfect games. So pro hitters don't do it. I go, yeah, but they don't see 100 pitches in a row. I was like, you don't think I could just guess fastball for 100 straight pitches and just dribble something out there that touched the outfield grass? And he was like, absolutely not. I don't know. I don't know if I've given up on that one yet. Any thoughts from you guys on that? I mean, does that sound, even when I say it out loud, I don't feel that stupid, even though I know the reaction will be pretty stupid.
Yeah, it seems like you're acknowledging that, like, yeah, it's one of those things, but like you really do think you can do it.
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, if I had to get, I'd have to look at one. I guess I'd have to guess fastball the whole time, but the chances are, I don't know if it were November, would I have a better? No, I'm just kidding. I don't like doing that to Clayton Kershaw because I used to defend him like crazy because he had like one bad outing that skewed all the numbers, and then actually the bad outings kept happening. He had like a nice stretch again, and then it was so whatever. We're not going to keep doing that. All right, so a lot of guys chiming in. Here's a guy named. Well, maybe we won't use his name here because I guess he likes to fight. I'm 6 foot 210. I fight, not professionally or anything, but I've been to jail enough times for fighting, and the fights don't stop when you get there. All right, jail fights. I lift. I was a Marine. I fought 3 pro fighters in my life. All 3 beat the living shit out of me. One of them, the one with the least professional experience, beat me and 2 other guys simultaneously numerous times over the course of 3 years. I guess they sort of would just get shit-faced, I'm guessing, here and fight, because I don't know that you'd be like, hey, let's fight that guy that kicked our ass again. I think after like the second time you go, maybe we're not going to get him. So I'd have to imagine they were friends with the third guy. He mentions Kyle Stewart. He's a UFC fighter that's gone 1-3 in the UFC. I'm bigger and stronger than him. He whooped my ass in about 25 seconds. We went again and again, and he beat me over and over. I've beat him before, but only in complete flukes. Pro fighters are pros. I think these 3 would struggle to beat anyone. Whoa. Let alone one of the greatest ever. 3 dorks have no chance against McGregor. Wow. He just called out he called them dorks, guys.
Well, there is a big difference between like the caliber of dude. If it's 3 of me, 5'10", 160 dripping wet, then like McGregor is going to knock 6 of me out in no time. But if it's,
Did you say 16 or 6?
6, but 16 might even be. Again, I would pay to watch that. But if it was like 3 guys that are your size or Kyle's size, like I don't know, like it just depends.
No, he's gonna take out 3 of us. I don't know what.
You don't think like 3 of you could just get McGregor on the ground?
How mad am I?
Are we talking
baseball bats? Or? I don't. No, I don't.
Hardwood Mizunos?
I don't think so. No, I don't. Okay. I don't.
I respect that out of you. A younger you, I don't think would have said that.
Older me has a better chance because younger me would have said it. No, I don't think it matters. It just doesn't matter. I mean, he's grappling with guys that are enormous, that are professional grapplers, training for his own ground, which, is the weakest part of his fight game. We make tons of assumptions. So, yeah, I think back to the emailer, the Derrick Henry one is 100 times more probable, although also unlikely. But it's just that there's 3. I mean, again, unless the emailer had followed up saying, no, these 3 guys are like fight. But if they're just 3 regular 175-pound guys, it's a really dumb thing to say. And that's why the guy who goes to jail and fights but isn't great against pros was so mad about it in the email and called them dorks. And honestly, I don't know that I'm going to call him out on that, although I don't want to call listeners and their brothers dorks either, even though I think it was a bad take. And the thing is nobody changes their mind, right? Those guys will listen to they'll talk about it amongst their friend group, and then they're going to be out at a bar in like 3 weeks saying we're all wrong. Here's the deal. Pick a really tough guy who weighs 170 and then fight him. Get back to us.
See what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, jump them. You and your buddies, you jump them, and leave out no detail. Okay, this is a long pod already, so we're gonna go back to an old faithful here. 62190. I'm looking for some advice as a 20-year-old kid who just got dumped. I've been dating this girl for 2 years, and I really thought she was the one. I know that sounds naive coming from a 21-year-old in his first relationship, but we seemed to fit perfectly. We talked about spending our lives together and getting married, so obviously I was heavily emotionally invested. We were at separate colleges, and she seemed to want to have more experience beyond just me. And she also didn't like the long distance. It's my understanding she has already hooked up with someone else. It's your understanding she has? Sorry, man. She definitely has. All right.
That's a bummer.
Don't let there be anything where you talk yourself into, well, maybe. No, she did. A couple times. And I'm not doing that to bum you out. I'm doing it because you need to get out of your own funk here. All right. She hooked up with someone else. It's only been a few weeks since the breakup. I'll cut to the point. What should I do? I see a couple different choices. I can try to immediately go out with someone else to get my mind off of things, even though I know I'm not ready for that. Or the other route would be to heal emotionally, just focus on school friends, etc. The second choice of waiting to heal is really difficult for me, as I know my ex is living it up with other guys. Even if it was a long shot for our relationship to work out due to our age, I still feel like a part of my future's died along with the relationship, as this is my first breakup. I don't really know what to do. What do you think the best way for me to get over this is? The best way to get over this relationship. Thanks in advance for the input. Keep up the work. Okay. Hey, man, I'm sorry, a little harsh, but I mean, I feel like you're going to have to get some tough love on this one, but it's also very understandable. When you're younger and you go through an epic breakup like this, it affects you in a way that it's probably never going to affect you again, because it's like the first time it happens. I've mentioned this before, but like the things that are important to us when we're younger, like think of every life experience as a sentence on a piece of paper, right? So for you, when you're this young, when you're in your teens and in college or early 20s or whatever, like a lot of your page is blank. And if you wrote down a couple sentences, a really good chance you could memorize all those sentences. For me, I'm a few pages into the legal pad, and all the things I'm writing down, like there's going to be very few that are as impactful as the first few sentences, because I'm going to forget some stuff along the way because I've got so many different things that are going on, all these different sentences. And so I had it happen to me too, man. The first time it was like a real bad breakup. It took me way longer than I would have ever thought. And I know the way I come off in the podcast, it'd be like, wait, what? And I'm like, no, yes, definitely. It sucked because it was my first one. I had never felt that feeling before. I didn't know what to do. And chances are you're going to go through it again at some point. You be a little bit more callous to it. You start to understand, okay, this is why I felt this way. And now I'm heading down this road. And I'm already like, I remember when it happened again, I was like, oh, all right, well, now I already know what this is like. This isn't fun, kind of sucks, but it just was different. It was the second time, and it didn't matter like who I cared about more or cared about less. It was just that I had other stuff. And then your career starts to take off and, whatever. Like you just kind of get up and you get out of bed and you just go through the day. And I think there's some value in letting yourself, feel bad for a little while. I know that can be a little tricky too, where then you start getting used to feeling bad, and then you're almost kind of glad you feel bad because then it's an excuse for everything else that isn't working out, which I think is kind of sometimes the bullshit part of it, where it's like, do you just want to feel bad about everything because it's just, an easier way to kind of have excuses for everything? Because that's not the road you want to go down. And I think, again, I've got my own philosophies on some of that stuff where it's like, well, how long are you going to feel this way? And how long do I have to defer to you? Whether it's a family member or somebody at the workplace, like how long do I have to keep deferring to you because you're not feeling great about something? So I know it sucks, man. I know it sucks. But the reason it hurts more isn't just because of her and whatever you think she is as the one. It hurts more because it's early in your life, and it's the first time that you've had this happen to you. And everybody's different. All right. Some guys, here's a good example. Okay. One of my roommates dated a girl that was a little bit younger, and it was long distance, and he really was into her. Okay. And he something was off, something was working out. But again, she was like younger. She was in college. She had already graduated. So I think it was like a 4 or 5 year gap. So she was going to be starting college as he was finishing. But he really, really dug this girl. And, she would come up to visit back and forth, back and forth. He was all about it. And, those of us on the outside were kind of like, all right, maybe this works out. But it's also much like your situation here, even though there isn't the age gap. She wants to have her experience at school. You appear to not care about your experience at school as much. All right. And so as we were watching this relationship play out, we're thinking like, I wonder how this is going to work out as she gets a little bit older and starts thinking like, do I really want a boyfriend who's not in my college, who's also older than me, as I want to have these 4 years, 5 for others, to have this experience that I'm never going to happen again. I mean, when older people tell you those are the best years of your life, we're not lying to you. All right. They really are. They're incredible years because you just also most people don't have all the pressures of everything else that happens when you start to become a grown-up. So they're having some difficulties. They're kind of breaking up, sort of. I don't know. He and I were road tripping back from Boston to go back up to Vermont, and he had made her like a table, like an end table, like you put next to your bed. And he'd made it for her. And he had some stuff that he had left there, and they had broken up, and he's like, hey, do you want me to did you mind stopping at her apartment? And I was like, I really don't feel like doing that, man. But he was broken up about it. He's like, can we stop at her apartment? She has some of my stuff. I want to get it. And that's what I want to do. So I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Let's go. And so we go, we grab some of his stuff. And as soon as we walk in, we see the end table in the hallway, not next to her bed anymore. Like it was a real nightstand that he made for her was next to her bed. And when they broke up, she moved the nightstand to like the greeting area. And then there was a dude there. So it sucked for him. It sucked. And it's always terrible as the friend because there's no way you don't feel 1% of the emotional stuff that's going on that your buddy's going through because you're watching it all and you're just like, God, this sucks. This sucks so bad for him. Like, I don't want to be here though. Selfishly, you're kicking in and be like, can we just get your stuff and get out of here? Like, please, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And he actually said to her, he's like, oh, so you moved the nightstand outside, huh? She was like, oh. And then he's like, who's this? And then she introduces him. She's like, you heard me talk about it. He's one of my friends from school. He's like, oh, hey. And then we're like walking, I think, a pair of skis and some clothes out. And then we have to drive now 4 hours back to Vermont, 3.5, depending. And we get back to our apartment and he's bummed out. And I was like, what's up? And he went upstairs, he showered and was like, we're going out. And we're going out huge. And that's how he handled it. And he wasn't a big go out drinker guy, but he was like, I'm going out for a month straight. So I'm not telling you to do that either. But some people enjoy this part of it where it's like, I shouldn't say enjoy, but what you have to be careful of is getting too used to being bummed out. And I think at 21, it's very simple for everyone to give you the advice that has nothing to do with how you're feeling emotionally and say, hey, go out all the time or, but don't sit around for too long. All right. Don't sit around for too long. Don't start thinking you can't get into another relationship just because that's unfair to the new person. Maybe you could be upfront about the whole thing too, although that's not usually the first thing you would want to start with. Be like, hey, I'm super devastated right now emotionally because the girl that I thought I was going to marry is now hooking up with other dudes in another college. Would you like to do something on Friday? Don't do that. But I guess as I'm talking this out, maybe this is one of the worst rambling bits that I've done here on the podcast. It's just that it's okay to be upset about it, but don't let it overtake every part of your life, which definitely can happen. And if it does, be aware that after a month or so, it's time to, jump in the shower and put a nice shirt on.
Yeah, I think you probably overstayed your sadness welcome already. But I would have said like throw on some 2006 John Mayer for a day or two, and then then like instead of the go out thing, what I would say is like hang out with your friends. Like he was like, should I like put all my energy into going out? Because what's going to happen is if you have those going out trying to find a woman thing and then you strike out a couple nights in a row and then you're thinking about how you struck out and she's like, you know, accepting offers left and right or whatever is running off in your head, like that's no good. And if your friends aren't three dudes who fantasize about beating up Conor McGregor, they probably will run into some girls anyway. So I think that like I think that's probably the that's the route you should go because it's the stakes are low. And then the other thing is like when you change schools and like, you know, go to college, it just happens. Like I broke up with my girlfriend when I thought I was going to community college. Like we were going to be in the same town and I was just like, you know, I'm going to be meeting a lot of people.
Gotta do me.
Going to school 15 minutes away from my house. And
Wait.
then,
You broke up with your girlfriend because you were going to be commuting to taking classes 15 minutes away?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was going to be like 5 other high schools worth of girls there who just, you know, couldn't get their shit together and was going to be at Dutchess Community. So I was just like, you know, it's just going to be, she had 1 year left in high school. So I was just like, you know, it's just not, we're not going to be spending enough time. She's like, are you serious? So that happened. And then when I got accepted to Potsdam, I broke up with my girlfriend then too. Because I had like a summer thing going on with a girl and we were both going to be going to Dutchess. And then I found out I was going to Potsdam like late, right before the semester started. I broke up with her too. It's just what a lot of people do. So it's unfortunate that you were at one of those change points in your life. It's just kind of what I thought you were supposed to do. I know some people don't do that, but it's probably not as personal as like, it's just what people do. Like there's nothing wrong with you, dude. This is just what happens when people go to college.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like there'll be a point where you're going to actually realize what she did makes way more sense, even though it hurts now. You don't have that clarity. You can't do that now. But you're going to have a moment. I promise you, you are going to have a moment where you're like, you know what? That actually made sense. I mean, I don't want to hear it from anybody. Everybody's telling me their stories. I'm like, fucking leave me alone. Stop talking to me. You know, hey, let's go over and visit Ryan. Fuck off. Get out of here. But I also had nothing else going right in my life. Nothing. Okay. Nothing was going right. So on top of the breakup, I didn't have any foundation to feel good about. So at least in college, you're never going to be around more friends. It gets so much easier to meet people. Like you're just sort of meeting people because you're in college. So try doing it when you're 26, 27, and you're living on Martha's Vineyard in the winter by yourself. All right. So, and you don't have a boat, you know? So it just sucks. It's one of those massive disconnects because everybody's going to tell you the right things. They're not lying to you. They're being your friend. They're saying the right things, but it's easy for everyone to give advice when they have no emotional attachment to what it is that they're giving advice about. So, like we just did here for way too long. I don't think we have anything. People have to have turned the podcast off at this point. They're like, get to another fight one. That's it. We went too long. We will be more efficient. Look, our guy was bummed out. We wanted to check in on him. All right. Thank you for listening to most of this podcast. And we have a couple pretty big guests, I think, scheduled for later this week. So looking forward to it. Please subscribe. Thanks to Kyle and Steve. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday.